Welcome to my channel. World Scene News. Subscribe to my channel for news updates all around the world. December 2025, Zurich. The world's footballing eyes were fixed on Switzerland, where FIFA was about to reveal the long-awaited details for the 2026 World Cup. Anticipation buzzed in the air, with fans and pundits expecting a historic announcement. The world expected the 2020 Innan on Stachendan the 6th FIFA World Cup to be America's grand stage, a showcase of its stadiums, its passion, its might. For years the US had been preparing, investing billions in infrastructure and promising a spectacle unlike any before. But as FIFA's announcements rolled out, the script flipped. The headlines didn't match the expectations, and the mood in American boardrooms shifted from excitement to confusion. The opening match? Not in the US, but in Mexico City's legendary Estadio Azteca, a stadium steeped in football history, now set to make history again. The message was clear. The spotlight was shifting south. Mexico, with its deep footballing roots, was handed the honor of kicking off the world's biggest sporting event. Canada, too, was handed its own opening match, a chance to welcome the world on its own terms. For Canadian fans, it was a moment of pride, a chance to shine on the global stage. Suddenly this wasn't America's World Cup, it was a shared spectacle, with the US just one of 3 hosts. The narrative had changed, and so had the sense of ownership. The US provided most of the venues and infrastructure, but the glory was being distributed elsewhere. The investment was massive, but the emotional payoff was slipping away. It felt like throwing a party, paying for everything, only to watch your friends give the speeches and cut the cake. The host was left on the sidelines, watching others take center stage. The plan to cement football's place in American sports was already being hijacked. The dream of a defining American moment was slipping through their fingers. Even the USMNT's group draw felt secondary to the broader story. America was footing the bill, but not getting the spotlight. The focus had shifted, and the US was no longer the main character. The excitement faded, replaced by a nagging question. Had the US been outmaneuvered at its own party? Was this the price of sharing the stage? For many, the grand unveiling felt less like a celebration, and more like a quiet, perplexing defeat. The world would watch, but America's moment in the sun had been dimmed before it even began. Of all FIFA's decisions, none stung more than leaving Washington, D.C. off the host list. The city, known for its rich history and political significance, was expected to be a natural choice. The capital, symbol of American power, was snubbed, a move as baffling as a World Cup in France without Paris. It was a decision that left many scratching their heads, wondering how such an oversight could happen. DC's initial bid centered on the outdated FedEx Field, but a joint proposal with Baltimore and its superior stadium seemed a smart fix. The collaboration was seen as a strategic move to bolster their chances, yet when the final list dropped, DC-Baltimore was missing. The exclusion was a shock to both cities, which had invested significant time and resources into their bid. Boston, backed by NFL power broker Robert Kraft, made the cut. Kraft's influence and the city's modern facilities gave Boston an edge that DC couldn't match. The fallout was immediate. Confusion, anger, embarrassment. Fans and officials alike were left to grapple with the reality of the snub. DC hosted the glitzy draw ceremony, but not a single match, a cruel irony. The city was good enough to host the fanfare, but not the games themselves. It was like hosting the engagement party for a wedding you're not invited to. The sense of exclusion was palpable. The snub became a symbol of America's diminished role in its own World Cup. It raised questions about the country's standing in the global sports arena. If the capital could be cast aside, what did that say about US influence? The decision seemed to undermine the very essence of American leadership. FIFA's choices were driven by stadium quality, political clout, and money, not sentiment. The organization prioritized financial and logistical considerations over tradition. DC was the first major casualty, setting a sour tone for the entire venture. The exclusion cast a shadow over the event's planning and execution. The message, even America's front door, wasn't welcome at its own party. It was a stark reminder of the shifting dynamics in international sports. The 2026 Urbanistijn Vereniging 2006 World Cup was pitched as a North American celebration, but the reality was a partnership of unequal rewards. The US provided 11 of 16 host cities and most of the infrastructure, but the prestige moments went elsewhere. Mexico landed the opening match at Estadio Azteca, ensuring the first images broadcast worldwide would be of Mexican pride. Canada, too, got its own opening match, an unprecedented spotlight for a country where football is still growing. Both nations got the glory without the heavy lifting. The US, it got the bulk of the matches, 78 out of 104, and the logistical headaches. The final will be in New Jersey, but the narrative was set. America was the workhorse, not the star. Mexico got the grand opening, Canada got a headline moment, and the US was left with the long, less glamorous middle act. The glory was shared, but the burden was not. America's role, essential, but uncelebrated. The world would watch, but the spotlight had moved. Hosting the World Cup in 2026 came with a staggering price. FIFA demanded sweeping tax exemptions and a host of perks, rent-free offices, free security, and exclusive advertising zones. Cities had to sign away millions in potential revenue, all for the privilege of hosting. In Kansas City, for example, no sales tax would be collected on tickets. Millions lost for local schools and services. The financial model was clear. FIFA reaped the profits, cities bore the costs. Hosting wasn't a partnership, it was a one-sided deal, with American cities left holding the bill. When the final whistle blows, FIFA will celebrate a tournament expected to generate over $11 billion, but the real cost will be tallied in city halls across America. The answer to who pays is simple: the American taxpayer. Each U.S. host city is projected to spend $100, $200 million on upgrades, security, and infrastructure. Costs FIFA refuses to cover. Add in the lost tax revenue from ticket sales, Atlanta could lose $25 million, Miami $7.4 million, Kansas City $11 million. That's money that could have funded schools, healthcare, and roads. The supposed economic benefits of tourism rarely materialize. Most World Cups lose money for hosts. The prestige is real, but the price is paid by ordinary citizens. For most, the World Cup is a party they'll never attend, but one they'll help pay for. The bills will linger long after the final match. The selection of 11 U.S. host cities created clear winners and losers. Cities like New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, Atlanta, and Miami celebrated, willing to accept FIFA's costly terms for a shot at global prestige. Kansas City and Seattle joined the winner's circle, eager for validation as football hubs. But the losers, Washington, D.C., Denver, Orlando, were left questioning the fairness of the process. The D.C.-Baltimore rejection, in favor of Boston and its NFL connections, highlighted the influence of powerful owners. For some, winning meant millions in lost tax revenue and public spending. Chicago, which withdrew over FIFA's demands, may have been the real winner, avoiding the financial pitfalls others now face. In this game, hosting could mean losing in the long run. The true cost of victory? Only time will tell. Sometimes, the best win is knowing when to walk away. Not every city wanted in. Chicago, Minneapolis, and Glendale, Arizona, took a hard look at FIFA's demands and walked away. Their decision wasn't about lack of ambition, but fiscal responsibility. Chicago, a sports powerhouse, refused to sign a blank check for vague promises of economic impact. Minneapolis and Glendale balked at FIFA's control over stadiums and commercial zones and the risk of runaway costs. These cities sent a message: the honor of hosting isn't worth jeopardizing public finances. As costs mount for host cities, those who said no thanks may have made the wisest choice. The promise of hosting a World Cup is seductive: legacy, unity, economic transformation. Politicians envision packed hotels and global attention, but the reality is harsher. The economic boom from tourism is often overstated. Regular visitors stay away, and profits flow to multinational chains. Infrastructure upgrades are usually temporary, offering little lasting value. The real legacy? A hefty bill for security and logistics, not new community assets. The main achievement is fleeting civic pride, a moment in the spotlight, paid for with years of debt. Is a few weeks of glory worth millions in lost revenue? The illusion is that prestige pays the bills, the reality is, taxpayers do. As 2026 approaches, the North American World Cup looks nothing like America expected. The excitement is palpable, but beneath the surface, the reality is far more complicated than the headlines suggest. The US is the principal host in name and expense, but a junior partner in prestige. While the world sees the stars and stripes, the real story is about who pays and who gets the glory. Mexico and Canada get the ceremonial moments, the grand opening, the global spotlight. Their stadiums will echo with the anthems and cheers that mark history. The US gets the bulk of the matches and the logistical grind. American cities will handle the crowds, the security, and the endless details that make the tournament possible. The financial arrangement is anything but fair. American cities shoulder the costs, FIFA takes the profits. The balance is tipped, and not in America's favor. The US isn't just hosting, it's subsidizing a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Stadiums are upgraded, infrastructure is overhauled, and the bills keep growing. When the final whistle blows, FIFA will celebrate, Mexico and Canada will bask in pride, and the US will tally the receipts. The party ends, but the accounting begins. America will have staged the largest part of the tournament, but as a workhorse, not a champion. The spotlight will move on, but the impact will linger. The honor will be shared, but the bill will be stamped US. SA. The legacy, for many, will be measured in dollars and cents. In the end, America got the World Cup, but it feels suspiciously like it lost. The cheers fade, but the costs remain. The world will remember the spectacle. The images will live on in highlight reels and memories. American taxpayers will remember the cost. For them, the World Cup is more than a game. It's a bill that keeps coming. Sometimes the biggest party leaves the host with the biggest hangover. And this time, America is left to clean up after the celebration.